evening, welcome, and it's time to inform you RTD's English news. The top stories are: the President Gili has regained the capital. The construction works of railway lines are in their final phase.
These were the top stories. Thanks to join us. The head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Gili, has returned this afternoon to the capital after his participation in the India-Africa 30 Summit. Upon his arrival, he has been greeted by the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamal Mohammed, President of the National Assembly, and a member of the government. In this trip, the head of state was accompanied by the chief of the Djiboutian diplomacy. President Gili has called on the Indian investor to come and invest in Djibouti's fast-growing sector, such as port infrastructure, road, and airport.
Always concerning this summit, India announced the grant of 600 million of public aid, 50,000 scholarships, and more than 10 billion in concessional credits for Africa. The President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Gili, took part from October 29 to 30 the work of the India-Africa 3rd Summit Forum in New Delhi, capital of India. More than 41 heads of states government have participated in this important meeting, which has been closed yesterday, Thursday, at the Indira Gandhi Stadium in New Delhi. The purpose was to adopt a final declaration focused on two dimensions which are political and economic. To mark the importance which India gives to Africa, its Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has announced for this occasion that his country was going to give to the countries of the continent 600 million of public aid and 50,000 scholarships during the next 5 years, and more than $10 other billion in concessional credits. In his speech, President Gili said that he was highly impressed by the dynamism of Indian small and medium businesses, which are experiencing an undeniable growth in India and Africa, and this by using their own resources and skills. We would like, he said, to draw inspiration from the Indian model of entrepreneurship and develop our fabric of small and medium enterprises, what is an essential element in the process of industrialization of our country. Mr. Ismail Omar Gili also welcomed the rapid growth of economic exchanges and trade between India and Africa, convincing evidence, according to him, of the usefulness but also of the vitality of the Indo-African partnership.
President Gili has also called on the Indian investor to come and invest in Djibouti's fast-growing sector such as port infrastructure, road, and airport. And this subject, he informed the Indian Prime Minister that for almost a decade now, the Republic of Djibouti multiples this investment in transport, infrastructure, and energy. As for example, he added, we have 3 ports in the course of construction at Djibouti. Addis Ababa rail line whose work are in the final phase, as well as 2 highway designed to strengthen the corridor that connect us to Ethiopia.
In this 3rd African-Indian Summit, the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Gili, has underlined the ongoing and realized project and the tremendous changes of African continent is witnessing. Let's listen to the speech of the head of state.
It's a great pleasure for me to be among you for taking part of this 3rd Summit of the Forum Indian African in this beautiful city of New Delhi, where the heritage of the past coexists harmoniously with modernity. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the government and people of India for the reception and the warm hospitality that has been reserved to my delegation and me since we arrived here, as well as for the excellent arrangement for putting in place to accommodate this important forum. Since the inception of this forum in 2008, it has been a testimony to the commitment of the government of India and the African countries in favor of strengthening the relation between the mainland and India. The recent history as to it reminds me the similarity of our respective struggles against the colonialism which has enslaved our country for over a century. India, a forerunner of the struggle for freedom and dignity, has innovated by choosing the path of non-violence to obtain its independence and has inspired by the same occasion much of liberation movements across the African continent. The common membership in the group of 77 is an illustration of our great determination to preserve our neutrality. Today, this summit allows us to assert clearly that Africa is the pre-square of non-power and we welcomes a mutual and beneficial partnership with respecting each other's values. Let me thank here the government and the people of India for their commitment in the peacekeeping operation in Africa with a view to strengthen security and stability in our continent. Through the ultimate sacrifice that each soldier have paid on African soil, India has demonstrated once again its commitment to the strengthening of our relations. Mr. Prime Minister, Your Excellencies, since the last summit of the African-Indian Forum in Addis Ababa in 2011, the rapid growth of our economic exchange and trade are convincing evidence of the usefulness but also of the vitality of our partnership. Since 2007, these exchanges have multiplied exponentially to more than $70 billion, then where the investments are experiencing a steady increase from year to year. India, Mr. Prime Minister, is an emerging country who knows a positive growth thanks to its strengths, including its industrial technology, and is undoubtedly intended to be an economic power on the global market. For its part, Africa has experienced a decade of strong and steady economic growth led to growth given the enormous potential of the continent. By combining our efforts and adopting a more favorable framework for our trade, including limiting the barriers non-tax, and this in the framework of the Indian program preferential rates to zero, I'm convinced that the African-Indian partnership will come out more strengthened. We are also greatly impressed by the dynamism of the PMI India women who are experiencing an undeniable boom in India and Africa by using their own resources and skills. In this sense, we would like to inspire from the Indian models of entrepreneurship and develop our fabric of small and medium enterprise of what constitutes an essential element in the process of industrialization of our continent. Africa is intended to play a greater role in international trade and is seriously engaged in a process of a regional and continental economic integration. We are convinced that regional integration is an essential link with the sustainable economic development. But to do this, our continent has need infrastructure project execution of variable size, capable of installing a dynamic project in favor of a regional integration, and in particularly the transport sector, such as the ports, airports, and roads, which constitute the backbone and the fundamental pillars of interstate and interregional trade. My country, who wants to be at the forefront of this integration, must have the means of its ambitions and has been able to demonstrate its ability to capitalize on the time on its comparative advantages, but also on the renewed confidence of investors to initiate ambitious structuring project. That's why, Mr. Prime Minister, for almost a decade now, we multiply the investment in transport infrastructure and energy because the growth and performance of our economy that's based on the services remains very dependent on the infrastructure quality. For instance, Mr. Prime Minister, we have 3 ports in the course of construction, a railway linking Djibouti Addis Ababa, whose works is in its final phase, as well as 2 highways designed to strengthen the corridors which connected to Ethiopia. Finally, I call off all my wishes to a dynamic partnership flourishing and beneficial to African continents.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs has made a report on this summit. He said that the three Indian African Forum was held for 2 days in New Delhi. It's a forum which brought together more than 41 head of state with the Indian Prime Minister. This forum was dedicated to the economic and trade, especially to the reform of United Nations Security Council, where Africa and India want to have their permanent seats and right of the commercial and economic dimension. India has promised to finance Africa development of infrastructure in matter of energy projects such as railway track with a sum of $10,000 billion and other interesting projects concerning the Republic of Djibouti. We have several projects that we want to invest on the pipeline. Let's not forget that there is already a project of $40 billion for funding the small and medium enterprise, especially in the field of fisheries. We have also introduced the demand for financing the railway project for the North Corridor, and the Prime Minister accept funding this project. We also ask a financing project for social housing of 10,000 units. It's also a project that has been approved by the Indian party, said the minister.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs has continued his report on indicating the fact that there is another important aspect, that the head of state has also wanted to submit to his Indian counterpart. He said this was the solar energy aspect. We know that the Ali Sabiya cement will operate in part with hydropower and in the other with coal, he said. We wish that a solar central line can be also paired with the other two sources of energy, has pronounced the minister. He added that the Indian party has also welcomed this project. According to Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, in the framework of the solar project, the funding of the public lighting will be requested, which has been also approved by the Indian part. I believe that these are important projects for the socio-economic development of our country. We have received a lot of assurance from the Indian authorities, said the minister. This forum has been the opportunity for the head of state to meet his counterparts, including Ethiopian, Somali, and those from the countries of the region, in order to coordinate our position on the issues that are related to security in the region and peace in the Horn of Africa. The head of state has also wished in his speech yesterday that the environmental aspect to be really taken into account concerning the fragility of this aspect of our economy, and especially in the other country where desertification and dryness has become more and more recurrent.
The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, has sent today a congratulatory message to his Turkish counterpart, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, which the country is celebrating the anniversary of its National Day. In his message, the President wished a success to Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan and more peace, development and prosperity to the friendly people of Turkey. I wish that the brotherly nation and Turkey increase the largely accomplished for work of its development, both the President Guelleh welcoming the value of creative overrun of itself and frantic patriotism which endorse the broader people of Turkey.
Your country has now a development model for all those who, like Djibouti, are resolutely turned to acquire these sensible foundations for their economic growth, said the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh. Mr. President, be sure that we will always fund with the people and government of Djibouti all necessary assistance to the promotion of already excellent friendly and cooperative relations between our two nations. Former reports woven by the thread of history, also wrote the President of the Republic.
Just a few months ago, the official inauguration of the new rail line to Addis Ababa, the Minister of Equipment and Transport, Mr. Musa Ahmed Hassan, along with a senior official of his department, has yesterday carried out an inspection visit on the project of the railway line. This visit has been an opportunity for the Minister and his delegation to inquire about the status of work of the lines as a whole and more particularly of Djibouti-Galilee section. The Minister and his delegation were composed of the Director General of Djiboutian Railways Company, Mr. Mahmoud Roble Dabar, the Director of Company, Mr. Ding Zaujun, and his close collaborator, as well as the chief of the project. The visit has been a start in the sector of Nagat Dorale, where the minister has in the first place checked the progress of civil engineering work which are well advanced.
Thereafter, the minister and his delegation went to the main train station of Djibouti located at Nagad, where he was able to obtain information on finishing works as well as the various parts of this large station that will serve the travelers. The delegation has then visited successively the train station of Holhol, where they have later on went to Ali Sabieh train station. They have been welcomed by the prefect of the region, Mr. Mohammed Wabiri Assowi, and the inhabitants. The works in this station are in progress in being finalized. The minister has viewed the installation of electricity poles which are executed and supervised by the ADD.
In an interview, the Minister of Equipment and Transport, Mr. Musa Ahmed Hassan, has indicated that the state of civil engineering work progress are in an important step. We have finished our inspection visit this morning. First of all, we start to Mbuli to see the evolution of the construction site of the railway line Djibouti-Galilee and the well progressing work. The first panel will be installed very quickly since the Shanghai Electric Company are at the end of their mobilization and start its activities.
Still in the national news, the Minister of Health, Dr. Qasim Saaq Osman, has visited the region of Obok along with Mr. Hassan Dabili, prefect of the region. The purpose of this visit was to inquire about the rehabilitation works of Obok's medical center operating block. During his visit, he was accompanied by the responsible of UNFPA office in the country, as well as a representative of the UNICEF and the chief doctor. Rehabilitation of the operating block comes in the framework of strengthening the structure of healthcare in order to support all deliveries, women, normal or complicated. This is also due to the high number of women living in the refugee camp of Markazi. The UNFPA supports the recruitment of medical staff for the deliveries in the operating block. For this purpose, the UNFPA has already provided equipment and materials for the medical surgery. The jobs are currently at 60% of achievement with the upgrade of the infrastructure. UNICEF will also provide the remaining equipment as well as the other supplies for the proper functioning of the future operating room of Obok's Medical Center.
In his intervention, the Minister of Health, Dr. Qasim Saaq Osman, has recalled the importance of maintaining the infrastructure and equipment intact and use them properly to provide quality care and available at all times to all the pregnant women living in the region and from neighboring region. This partnership will last as long as necessary, and we are certain of the side of our partner UNFPA that this team should retain the capacity. The Minister of Health has assured fully available for any suffering person in this camp.
In the framework of the Third Islamic Conference of OIC member countries, labor ministers, the Djiboutian Minister of Labor in charge of the administrative reform, Mr. Abdi Hussein Ahmed, along with the delegation, was staying since October 26 in the capital of Indonesia, Jakarta. The minister has participated in the work of this conference, mainly focused on the strengthening of intra-OIC cooperation and the implementation of the member countries' cooperation executive program in the field of employment and social security. On the sidelines of this conference, the Minister of Labor, Abdi Hussein Ahmed, has undertaken a bilateral meetings highly successful in the field of training skills and experts of Djiboutian qualified workforce, particularly with the Secretary General of the OIC, Mr. Iyad Amin Madami, and the Minister of Labor of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Hanif Zakiri.
In the framework of organizing a national youth game, the inter-neighborhood competition began yesterday evening. The first phase of the competition of traditional dance has opposed the team from Bulaus neighborhood under the supervision of the organizing committee. This contest will continue at the same level of the sport competition in other municipalities and will be held in the region. The organizing committee will be supported by the regional director and a representative of the Ministry of Culture, Mr. Musa Hassan. This context, which is a part of the National Youth Game created on the initiative of the Head of State, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Gili, as for an objective to enhance the capacity of the youth who are at the heart of all concern.
still in sports, the 2015-2016 National Championship of Djiboutian Athletics has started yesterday afternoon in the capital with a strong involvement of Djiboutian athletes who came from different parts of the capital as well as from the interior regions. As each year, the launch of this championship included 3 categories of race, such as 4 kilometers for girls and 6 kilometers for cadets and 10 kilometers for the juniors and seniors of the rally. The kickoff of this race had been given by the president of the Athletics Federation, Mr. Mohamed Ahmed Sheikh, in the presence of Djiboutian famous championship Ayaan Suleiman, Moumin Gelle, and His Bashir, who came to support the future athletes of the country. This race has gathered the athletes from the Ali Sabi School of Sports, the National Police, Republican Guard, FAD, Djibouti Telecom, as well as the Coast Guards. The race of 4 kilometers for the girls has been won by Qadra Mohammed with a time of 12 minutes 24 seconds and 49, followed by Shukri Musa of the Republican Guard with 12 minutes 31 seconds, where the third place went to Miss Malaiko Mohammed with 12 minutes and 38 seconds. As for the 6 kilometers for cadets, the first place was won by Hussein Saad from Ali Sabi with a lap of 18 minutes and 51 seconds, followed by Hamza Mohammed with 18:55 seconds. And finally, the 10 kilometers of the rally has been snatched by Jama Abdi Diri of the National Police with 29 minutes and 21 seconds. As for the third place has been won by an athlete from the Republican Guard, Ibrahim Abdi, with 29 and 32 seconds.
Always in the framework of launching the National Athletics Championship, after the strong race, the winners were awarded with the trophy for their great performance. Let's not forget that the athletes have participated in the race of 4 kilometers for girls, 6 kilometers for cadets, 10 kilometers of the rally. The ceremony took place at the Palace of People, where the president of the FDA has handed over the award.
Under the leadership of the State Secretary of Youth and Sports, Djibouti Petanque Federation gave yesterday the kickoff of this year's national championship at the Technical Center of National Football. It has started in the presence of this federation's president and the officials of the sport departments, as well as the team from the 3 communes of the capital, such as Razdika, Blas, and Balbala. 40 teams will participate in Petanque Championship. In their speeches, the president of the federation and officials of the State Secretary of Youth and Sports did not miss to thank the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, and especially the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, for his constant support and unwavering promotion of sports, including balls, and making the youth his priority.
Under the leadership of the State Secretary for Youth and Sport, the Djiboutian Federation of Judo was celebrated yesterday the World Days of Judo in the CDC Section 7 bis. This ceremony began with the demonstration of different techniques of Judo from many teams. This World Day, initiated since 2011 by the International Judo Federation, is celebrated on October 29. Here, every day is placed under the sign of a particular theme. In 2011, for the first edition, it was emphasized respect in the sport. In 2012, the theme was Judo for All. In 2013, Perseverance. In 2014, Honor. And lastly, for this year, the theme selected was the Unity.
Moving on to the international news. Throughout the story of African continent, migration has been embedded deeply within its matrix. During recent history, Africans began to migrate to Europe and elsewhere. Decades ago, Lebanon people began fleeing civil wars, came to West Africa to find shelter. After many generations, here is what they have become. Let's see the following.
Migrants have been coming to Africa from what is now Lebanon for the past 150 years or so, becoming established industrious communities integral to several West African states. In fact, the first president of Ivory Coast described them as a gift from God. Over a century and a half, a combination of political stability, economic forces, famine, and conflict has brought successive waves of Lebanese Lebanese to West Africa, from where they have fanned out across the continent. The influx continues today. The first Lebanese arrived in the former French territories of Senegal and Ivory Coast in the 19th century as France encouraged settlement to stimulate growth in the colonies. They also came to Ghana. Of that first wave may well have been heading farther west, but their ships changed course. Hardship in Lebanon caused periodic waves of immigrations when the Lebanese silk trade fell and when famine struck Greater Syria during the First World War in the later 19th century.
This is the end of the news. Thank you for staying with us. The program still continues on RTD, and have a great evening.